Welcome to Coding Knowledge. In this session, we know about what is GitHub Desktop and its benefits. GitHub Desktop is a free, open-source application that helps you to work with files hosted on GitHub or other Git hosting services. Using GitHub Desktop, we can interact with GitHub using a graphical user interface instead of the command line or a web browser. GitHub Desktop is used to complete most Git commands from your desktop, such as pushing to, pulling from, and cloning remote repositories, attributing commits, and creating pull requests. GitHub Desktop to collaborate on projects and connect to remote repositories. What are the benefits of GitHub Desktop with key points? GitHub Desktop is useful for beginning and advanced users. These benefits are: find commands. Because GitHub Desktop has a visual interface, you can easily access less common Git commands, such as choosing which changed lines to include in a commit or adding a co-author to a commit, without needing to memorize or look up syntax. Follow best practices. GitHub Desktop encourages best practices. For example, it helps you to create an accurate and easy-to-follow commit history so other collaborators on a project can easily review your work. Integrate with GitHub. GitHub Desktop is specifically designed for use with GitHub. For example, you can authenticate to GitHub or GitHub Enterprise Server quickly, without needing to use a separate credential manager. You can also check out a pull request to run checks without needing to open your browser. Get started easily. If you're new to Git and GitHub, you may find it easier to use GitHub Desktop than to use Git on the command line. GitHub Desktop has a graphical user interface that simplifies commands and helps you visualize changes. What is GitHub Desktop workflow? You can use GitHub Desktop alongside any tools you need to contribute to a project. For example, a typical workflow is: use GitHub Desktop to download a GitHub repository to your computer and create a new branch. Use an editor such as Visual Studio Code to make changes to the code. Return to GitHub Desktop to commit and push the changes to GitHub. Difference between GitHub and GitHub Desktop. Git is a version control system that helps you manage your code and keep track of it. GitHub is a cloud-based hosting platform that enables developers to manage their Git repositories. GitHub Desktop is an application that lets users interact better with GitHub through a GUI. GitHub Desktop incentivizes you and your team to work together while employing best practices with Git and GitHub. GitHub Desktop enables developers to activate commands such as repository creation, pull requests, and commits with just a simple click. This extra convenience adds an extra element of flexibility to working with Git and collaborating with other developers. Please check the real-time GitHub videos under Git and GitHub tutorial playlists. These videos are beneficial for beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. Here you get the how to create repository, create GitHub branch, manage GitHub branches, working with pull request and manage GitHub projects, sync multiple users on GitHub project, how to work on GitHub using Visual Studio Code, how to perform Git pull, push, clone, commit changes, know about personal access token, how to add and manage GitHub reviewer in pull request. Thanks for watching Coding Knowledge and stay tuned for more upcoming videos.